Hello, friends of Lance. Sunday, June 21st. Just 3 days left until Brazil's decisive match against Scotland in Group C of the World Cup. Coach Carlos Ancelotti led and is actually still leading right here behind me the first training session of the national team in preparation for this match. The activity did not include all the players. Seven starters from the match against Haiti did light exercises and didn't even show up during the traditional 15 minutes that the press had access to. The ones who showed up were Lucas Paqueta, Vinny Jr., and Allison, and who else?
Neymar. Neymar came in together with Vinny Jr., a scene that really caught everyone's attention. We even just published a report about it on Lance. Usually Neymar is the last player to enter the field, always the star of the show, right? And it generates a lot of comments, right? Why is he the last one? Why is he always the last? Not today. He came in with the group, came in hugging Vinny Jr., did all the activities with Vinny Jr., kept talking to him, stayed with that group. Yeah, during the warm-up with Vinny Jr., Paqueta, and Ryan. Yeah, we can say that Vinny Jr. is the main star of the Brazilian national team in this World Cup. 2 goals in 2 matches, drawing attention, playing well. Yeah, and the two of them together, I thought it was very positive. It would be that veteran Neymar is only 34 years old, but he's the one who was bringing in the young new star of the national team. Look, let's go, do it like this, do it that way. Yeah. So I thought that image was really cool. I thought it was a very symbolic image. Yeah, which also shows that Neymar has a team mindset for this World Cup. I think a lot of it also comes from the conversation he had before being called up with the national team director of the CBF, Rodrigo Caetano, who gave him a sort of guideline, about Ancelotti's mindset and what he wanted for the national team in the World Cup. So I think Neymar understood. We've seen very few posts from Neymar. We've seen him posting a lot more about training. I'm coming back, the training footage, images of him running, the breaks, the few breaks that the players had. Here, it was always something related to family, with his children, with his wife, who is pregnant, by the way. Yeah, so I think he came with an attitude of understanding his importance to this group, understanding his importance to the national team. And now he can already be used, right? He will be listed for the game against Scotland over in Miami, so that's already a great step for us to see Neymar. Personally, I find it hard for him to start, even though he's one of the possible options to replace Raphinha, right? Who suffered an injury to his right or left thigh. Right thigh, hamstring, right hamstring, MRI scan. Sometimes we get confused, right or left, but anyway, that's it. So Neymar is one of the possibilities to play in Raphinha's spot, and I believe he'll be the one chosen. We'll discuss that soon, including who will come in. No, Dusan.
Just a reminder that Neymar participated normally in the activity, ran with the other athletes, did all the warm ups. Yeah, a full training session for Neymar along with the other players. Rafinha, who suffered that muscle injury, is here at the training center, but he wasn't seen. At least by us, he didn't go out onto the field. He's undergoing intensive treatment there. Yeah, according to a brief statement from the CBF released a statement yesterday confirming that the imaging exam confirmed it.
They didn't specify the grade, right? Whether it's 1, 2, or even 3. If it's grade 3, he'd be out of the World Cup. And even with grade 2, I think it's very unlikely he'd be able to play in the World Cup.
Yeah, but the CBF used the term intensive treatment, so the CBF believes that he might eventually continue with the Brazilian team if Brazil makes it to the final, which is scheduled for July 19th. Raphinha, who has already had similar injuries over the past few months, including in the last of Brazil's friendlies before the World Cup, Brazil versus France, he got injured, felt pain in that same area of his thigh. We can't say it was exactly the same injury because the CBF once again didn't specify what it was. But at the time, he was out for 5 weeks, missed Brazil's second game, that one.
He missed Barcelona's games too.
And so, if he stayed out for 5 weeks, he'd be out of the national team. But with this notice that he's moving to intensive treatment, there's still a chance that Rafinha could play in this World Cup. Remember that the CBF can't make any more player substitutions unless it's goalkeepers. But according to the World Cup rules, if a player is cut now, he won't be replaced. Well, Ancelotti's options for the game against Scotland without Rafinha, among the possibilities, we have Luis Henrique, who is one of the players who played the most under Ancelotti but who lost there. He even became a starter, but he lost a bit of that hierarchy because he didn't do very well in the friendly against Egypt over in Cleveland, and he also didn't do very well when he came on in the match against Morocco. Rayan was the player who replaced Rafinha against Haiti, And he also felt a bit of the pressure of his debut. There's also Neymar himself. And there's always Andy, who the fans are always asking for. What do you think about these options, Renato?
I think Martinelli is also an outsider,
Gabriel Martinelli, who plays on the left.
but he could be improvised on the right side. I have an opinion that Ancelotti will go for it, even from the interpretation that we're now starting to understand a little bit of how he thinks. For me, he'll go with Luis Enrique in the starting lineup because of his experience and the number of games he's played. And then I'll explain why not Rayan. Why was Rayan chosen to take Raphinha's spot in the game? Why? Yeah, Rayan is making his World Cup debut. He's a very young player. The game was already pretty much decided. Brazil was playing well 2-0. I believe that Ancelotti put Rayan in to give him World Cup experience. Rayan comes in. Yeah, he was already nervous, as he mentioned. He was nervous during the game. Yeah, now this thing about World Cup debuts is over for Rayan and for Henrique himself too. So now Rayan is already part of the select group of World Cup players. He won't be nervous anymore. The game was already theoretically decided, despite Brazil. Brazil even scored another goal, 3-0. The second half was tougher as Haiti applied more pressure. Brazil almost scored a goal. Yeah, but I think Ancelotti was thinking, look, I'm going to give this kid a World Cup appearance. I'm going to give him some minutes in the World Cup so I can use him during the tournament. But I don't see Rayan being the starter chosen by Ancelotti. I think he's going to use his conservative approach of sticking with players he's been using for a longer time. Like we said earlier, Neymar doesn't start the game. It's very unlikely. He's an option from the bench. He could even be used in that position as well. But Ancelotti said he wants him a little further forward. Could Hendrick be an option? Yes, he played like that at Palmeiras. He played like that at Lyon more recently. He performed well in that position. But I think Hendrick still won't be able to give Ancelotti the team play he wants. A player who will help defensively and close down. Hendrick is a goal scorer who always aims to score, but it's an option too. And Martinelli would be moved from one side to the other. I would bet on Luis Henrique instead of Raphinha. And I would bet on one more change in this game against Scotland. Casemiro is one booking away from suspension. Remember that the yellow cards were reset at the end of the group stage. I would bet that Ancelotti would use Fabinho in that position. He already played in the first game. He did well. In fact, he came on for Casemiro. So I would bet on two changes in the Brazilian national team for this game against Scotland. Fabinho in place of Casemiro and Luis Henrique in place of Raphinha. I don't know if you agree, Duzan, but I think that's basically the starting lineup. It would be Alisson, Danilo, Marquinhos, Gabriel Magalhães, and Douglas Santos, Casemiro, Bruno Guimarães, and Paquetá. Luis Enrique, Vini Jr., and Mateus Cunha.
I have a question. Didn't Douglas Santos get a yellow card in the game against Haiti?
He also got a yellow card, but then could Alexandra? We saw Alexandra training really hard with Neymar yesterday. In the footage released by the CBF, it could be a clue. Yeah, the videos that the CBF releases sometimes give us some hints, but we're not going to stop looking into it. Let's try to figure out which team Ancelotti will put on the field in this last game of the group stage. In Group C, which Brazil leads, by the way.
We also believe he'll stick with three in midfield and three in attack, mainly because it's working. Second, because Scotland is a team that's going to mark a bit harder. Yeah, you can't let your guard down. Yeah, so that's probably it. I agree with Yanaka. The change is probably Casemiro, Fabinho coming in for him. I also believe it will be Luis Henrique on the right. We were running several polls among the journalists before practice. There are many options. Opinions. There are those who prefer Henrique. There are those who prefer Ryan. There are those who prefer Luis Henrique. Personally, I don't have a preference. I have,
I want us Brazil to win.
and I believe that Luis Henrique is that person because he has more experience, especially with Ancelotti as well. He's a player who scored in the Libertadores final. He's used to it. All the players are used to big games, but he has more experience. Yeah, more experience than Henrique and Ryan. So I believe that's it. Today, Sunday, Lucas Paqueta will give a press conference at the Brazilian national team's hotel. And you know, the World Cup is here on Mundo.
That's it. Thanks, everyone.